It was a cold evening at the crowded city station when Ryan, a tired single dad, noticed something that made him stop mid-step. Two little girls, maybe 7 or 8, sat huddled together on a bench, clutching each other's hands while people rushed past them as if they didn't exist. Their backpacks were worn out, their clothes dusty, and their eyes, unusually quiet. Then Ryan saw it. The girls weren't talking. They were signing, frantic, confused, scared. And no one noticed. Not one person slowed down. Not one person tried to understand. Ryan felt something twist inside his chest. He knew exactly what it was like to be invisible. After losing his wife, he had raised his son Jacob alone, working long hours, stretching every dollar, carrying grief that no one else could see. He knew the pain of being overlooked. But these girls, this was different. They weren't just being ignored, they were stranded in silence in a world that didn't speak their language. So he walked over, knelt down to their level, and gently signed one simple word. Hello. The twins froze. Their eyes widened. And then, as if sunlight had broken through a storm, they smiled, big, trembling, relieved smiles. Their names were Emma and Ellie. And they were lost. The unheard cry for help. Ryan learned quickly that the twins had boarded the wrong bus on a school field trip. Their teacher didn't notice until it was too late, and the girls couldn't call for help because they had no phone, and no one around them understood sign language well enough to communicate. Ryan could have walked past them. But he didn't. Instead, he sat with them, patiently signing every sentence, warming their hands between his palms because they were shaking from fear and cold. Jacob watched quietly at first. The 11-year-old usually kept his distance from strangers, losing his mom had made him cautious, but something about the twins softened him. He nudged a juice box toward Emma and Ellie, awkward but sincere, and they accepted it with shy gratitude. A small connection formed between the four of them, gentle, fragile, but real. The search for home. Ryan called the bus company, the school, even the district office, but it was a Saturday. Nobody answered. The challenge now was clear. 2 lost deaf children. No immediate help. No quick communication. No one else stepping in. So Ryan made a decision. We're not leaving you alone, he signed slowly. You stay with us until we find your family. The girls clung to him instantly. The next hours became a quiet adventure. Ryan took them and Jacob to a small diner nearby. The twins stared wide-eyed at the menu, so Ryan helped them choose by drawing food items on a napkin. Their giggles filled the booth, silent to others, but bright as bells inside Ryan's heart. Jacob taught them rock, paper, scissors. Emma showed them how to fingerspell their names. Ellie shyly signed that Jacob was funny. Ryan realized something unexpected. His son was laughing again, really laughing, for the first time in months. A challenge they didn't expect. When Ryan finally reached the police department to report the found children, the officer was dismissive. Sir, we're overloaded. Kids get mixed up all the time. Someone will claim them. Ryan clenched his fists. These children can't communicate with you. They need someone who understands them. Then leave your number, the officer replied. Ryan stared at him in disbelief. 2 frightened girls needed immediate care, and no one wanted responsibility. Walking out of the station, Ryan felt overwhelmed. As a single father, he barely managed his own life. He had bills overdue, a car that coughed every morning, and a job that barely kept the lights on. Taking on more responsibility wasn't easy. But when he saw Emma and Ellie holding Jacob's hands tightly, trusting him without question, he knew he couldn't let go. Sometimes family wasn't blood. Sometimes it was whoever stayed when everyone else walked away. The reunion that changed everything. Hours later, as evening fell, Ryan's phone rang. It was the twins' aunt, crying, panicked, exhausted. She had been searching citywide while the school scrambled to cover their mistake. When she arrived, she swept the girls into her arms, sobbing with relief. Then she looked at Ryan, eyes full of gratitude. Everyone ignored them, she said. People saw 2 lost children and kept walking. But you saw them. Ryan nodded softly. I know what loneliness looks like. The aunt explained that she had struggled to raise the girls alone after losing their mother. Money was tight. Support was scarce. People often avoided the twins because communicating with them wasn't easy. But then she said something that surprised Ryan. They won't stop talking about you. And your son. Emma and Ellie ran back to hug Jacob. He stiffened, then gently hugged them back, cheeks flushing red. Before leaving, the aunt pressed a small folded note into Ryan's hand. Inside was a thank you message, from the twins, written carefully in crayon, with little drawings of hands signing friend. Ryan swallowed hard. It was the purest message he had received in years. The message that endures. In the weeks that followed, the twins and their aunt visited often. Ryan and Jacob started learning more sign language. Their home grew a little louder in laughter, even if the laughter wasn't heard, only felt. Jacob found new confidence. Emma and Ellie found people who truly saw them. And Ryan found something he thought he lost long ago. Hope. The story spread through the community, how a single dad changed two children's lives simply by saying hello in their language. And the message was simple but powerful. You don't need to hear someone to listen. You don't need to speak to understand. Sometimes the smallest kindness breaks the deepest silence. A month had passed since Ryan and Jacob found the deaf twins at the station. Life had settled into a gentle rhythm again. Or at least, that's what Ryan thought. Until one rainy afternoon. Jacob came running into the living room, breathless. "Dad, they're here." Ryan turned toward the door, and there stood Emma and Ellie, dripping wet from the rain, backpacks slung over their shoulders, their aunt beside them, her face tight with worry. Before Ryan could speak, both girls ran forward and wrapped their arms around him. They were shaking, not from cold but from something heavier. Ryan knelt down, gently signing, "What happened?" The girls signed so fast, their little hands were trembling. It took a few moments for Ryan to piece everything together. They weren't visiting. They were leaving home. The nightmare they escaped. Their aunt looked exhausted, as if she hadn't slept in days. "I'm sorry to bring this to you," she said, voice breaking, "but the girls, they refuse to stay. And I can't force them." Ryan frowned. "What happened?" She hesitated before speaking. "I lost my job last week. Money's gone. The landlord wants us out. There's no space at the shelter, and their school said they don't have resources to help them right now. Everything is falling apart." Emma and Ellie clung to each other, watching her with wide, wet eyes. They understood more than people gave them credit for. The aunt continued, "And nobody wants to take in deaf twins. They think it's too much work." Those words hit Ryan hard. Too much work. He remembered the looks he got when raising Jacob alone, juggling grief, bills, and the world's judgment. Too much work, people had said that about him too. Jacob stepped forward and signed slowly to the twins, "You can stay here." Ryan looked at his son in surprise. This boy who once kept to himself now stood protectively beside the twins as if they were his sisters. The aunt wiped her eyes. "They trust you. They feel safe with you. I can't provide that right now." Then she opened the girls' backpacks. Inside were neatly folded clothes, a few notebooks, and a sketch each girl had drawn, Ryan, Jacob, and themselves, holding hands. They weren't visiting. They had moved. The decision. Ryan stood up slowly, feeling the weight of the moment. He barely made enough to support himself and Jacob. Adding 2 children was terrifying. Impossible, even. But then Emma touched his arm, looking up at him with a quiet plea. Ellie reached for Jacob's hand, signing, "Family." Jacob squeezed her hand back without hesitation. Ryan exhaled shakily. He didn't have much. But he had a home. He had food. He had arms that could carry them and a heart that refused to let them fall. "Stay," he signed firmly. "This is your home too." Both girls burst into relieved tears. The aunt cried silently too, thanking him over and over. And in that small living room, lit only by the dim evening light and the sound of rain, something extraordinary happened. A family grew. Not by blood, but by choice. The challenges start. The next morning, reality hit hard. School forms. Teachers confused about sign language. A principal who smiled politely but dismissed their needs. Children who stared at the twins and whispered because they didn't understand deafness. Ryan fought meetings that dragged for hours. He advocated for interpreters, equality, understanding, but every answer was the same. We don't have the budget. We don't have staff. We don't have training. It was always no. That night, Ryan found Jacob sitting on the porch with the twins. He watched as the children played a clumsy but sweet game of charades, the twins laughing silently, Jacob laughing loudly. And Ryan made a promise to himself. If the world didn't give these girls a voice, he would. A father's silent battle. The following weeks were full of challenges. Ryan took extra shifts. He learned sign language late into the night. Jacob helped the girls with their homework every day, patiently drawing pictures and using gestures. Emma had nightmares. Ellie cried when overwhelmed. Some days they clung to Ryan so tightly he couldn't leave for work without his shirt getting wet from their tears. But slowly, quietly, their world grew softer. Ryan put glow-in-the-dark stars on their ceiling so they wouldn't fear the dark. Jacob labeled the house with sticky notes in sign language: door, window, water, family. They cooked dinner together, messy but joyful. They restored routines, safety, love. The twins blossomed. They laughed more. They drew more. They trusted more. And one night, Ellie signed something that made Ryan freeze. Dad. She meant him. Emma repeated it, tears in her eyes. Dad. Ryan felt his heart break and heal at the same time. He hugged them tightly, whispering, "You're home now." The call that changed everything. Just when life finally began to stabilize, Ryan received a call from the school district. A new program had opened, funding approved, interpreters hired, resources finally available. But the most shocking part? The reason it happened. Your story reached our board, the director said. Your fight made us reconsider how we treat children who are different. Ryan stared at the twins playing in the living room, unaware of the small revolution they had inspired. They weren't invisible anymore. Because someone finally stopped, signed, "Hello," and refused to look away. If you want, I can continue the story with